I found you. Bearer of the eternal elixir field. The Han Empire faced
That Jadis.
Howdy there, it's your old pal, Archie Adams, to welcome you
world needs now is love, sweet love. And what the world needs now is love, sweet love.
Wordt het niet eens tijd om te checken of onze zorgverzekering nog bij ons past?
Easy Independeren, daar word je altijd wijzer van. Vergelijk nu en bespaar.
This generation, console buyers are being faced with a choice that they've never really had to make before. It used to be that a new console launched and it had these capabilities, and that was it. But now the Xbox Series X and Series S are launching with distinctly different prices and capabilities, and the choice between them is not necessarily a simple one. This one's 4K and ray tracing, and this one's 1440p, but then there's no 1440p TVs, and it does support ray tracing. But game developers are coming out and saying, oh, well, our game. This generation, console buyers are being faced with a choice that they've never really had to make before. It used to be that a new console launched and it had these capabilities, and that was it. But now the Xbox Series X and Series S are launching with distinctly different prices and capabilities, and the choice between them is not necessarily a simple one. This one's 4K and ray tracing, and this one's 1440p, but then there's no 1440p TVs, and it does support ray tracing, but game developers are coming out and saying, oh, well, our game, it's not going to be able to ray trace on that thing. So it's becoming a lot more like buying a PC. And like a PC, you can look at the spec sheet, but that doesn't mean anything to the vast majority of people. It comes down to the experience. So LG sponsored this video where we're going to be taking the TV out as a variable because we know that their C10 48-inch OLED is freaking awesome for the next generation consoles. And we're going to be trying them out side by side. 1X, 1S, which one should you pick? Before we begin, let's talk about our setup here. Each of our consoles is connected to a different HDMI port at the back of the TV. This is going to allow us to quickly switch inputs and compare both image quality and performance nearly side by side between our two Xboxes. One of the reasons that this works is that the C10 has a ton of gaming-oriented features, starting with the fact that every one of its inputs has full support for 4K, 120Hz, along with all the other HDMI 2.1 goodness, including auto-low latency mode, including NVIDIA G-Sync, even though that's a PC-specific gaming feature, as well as support for all the usual HDR modes, including HDR10, HLG, and Dolby Vision. In addition to that, LG is a member of the HGIG, or HDR Gaming Interest Group, which has the goal of both leveling the playing field between games. Still provides like a pretty darn good gaming experience. I think a lot of people are gonna go for this puppy. Like, look how small it is. Got the cooling fan right there. It's freaking tiny. I mean, who needs more than 4 teraflops, right? You still got the storage expansion slot, although it should be noted that it only comes with half of the storage out of the box compared to the Xbox Series X. 3, 2, 1, go. Brandon.
Okay.
Now. 20 seconds. 20 seconds. Okay. I'm not really expecting this to be any different. 3, 2, 1, go. because the storage of the systems is rated at the same speeds. But there still could be some, because the CPU, even though it's still 8 cores, is slightly slower in the Series S. And actually, the GDDR6 memory that also acts as system RAM is slower as well. So, maybe. All right, 20 seconds for both. No appreciable difference. Now let's do a game launch. 3, 2, 1, go. For this, I actually don't want to just go until the game menu. So I'm going to go through it as fast as I can to jump into game, but I want to actually load into a level. Continue. And there we go.
Minute 5.
Minute and 5. That's it. A minute to be gaming. 3, 2, 1. Fun fact, last time we featured this TV, we said that in game mode, color accuracy was compromised, but there's actually 2 workarounds for that. You can calibrate the game mode just as much as you can calibrate any
Microsoft has said the Xbox Series S is going to be $299, and the Xbox Series X is going to be $499. So what's the difference besides $200? I'm going to break down what each console has and tell you which one I think you should buy. Now, Microsoft has said both of these systems are going to launch November 10th, and they're both named Xbox. That's about where the biggest similarities end. They're actually very different, and that surprised me looking back at, let's say, the Xbox One versus the One X. They share, a physical quality. One of those bigger than the other, but they're not radically different beasts. Same thing can be said for the PlayStation 4 and the PlayStation 4 Pro, and even going back a generation or two, the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, the variant versions of these systems did not feel that terribly different, even if they were, let's say, a little bit bigger or smaller or had some extra features. In this case, the Xbox Series S looks much different than the Xbox Series X. It's much smaller. Microsoft says it's 60% smaller than the X, and the X, frankly, looks huge. I think that's a big plus because, number one, it forces you to remove some of the extraneous things you don't really need, like the optical drive. I know some people love optical drives in consoles. People love optical drives in laptops. I hear from these people whenever we talk about how thin a laptop is, and they write in and they say, but it doesn't have an optical drive. We're not living in that world anymore. The concept even for games of taking a big game, burning it on a disc, putting the disc in a box, in another plastic box, putting it on a truck, driving it to a store, putting it on the shelf. That's a lot less efficient than offering downloads. But the Series S basically sets itself up as a future streaming game machine, even if that's not going to be what it's all about at launch. Although xCloud is certainly going to be a big part of that console generation launch, and you'll probably look for it to be even bigger in the future. But that Series S, no optical drive, relatively small hard drive. I'm sure you'll be able to augment it. They'll either have a higher capacity version or you can buy external hard drives just like people do for consoles today. And the other really big difference is both of these are really built on the same architecture. There's not a huge amount of daylight between them, but they're optimized for different outputs. So the Xbox Series X promises 4K output to go with your 4K TV and 60 frames per second on at least a lot of games, maybe even more on some very competitive multiplayer games. Meanwhile, the Xbox Series S is optimized for maybe the TCL with the Vizio TV you had from a couple years ago. Maybe it's full HD 1920 by 1080, not full 4K. So it's going to be pushing games at that lower resolution, either 1080 or 1440, but not up to 4K. But I believe it says it's also going to support 4K streaming media, which of course is a lot easier because they're getting the 4K signal. They're not processing it there from
Met Revolut Business beheer ik moeiteloos al mijn financiën. En mijn team? Ik hou hun uitgaven eenvoudig bij.
أجهزة إكس بوكس الجديدة أيهم أفضل أيهم أقوى وأيهم أنسب لكم؟ المراجعة الكاملة بسم الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته، أخوكم فيصل السيف. هالفيديو بعرفكم على جهازين الإكس بوكس سيريس إكس والسيريس إس، النسخة الرقمية والنسخة اللي بقارئ أقراص. الحين نسختين أعلنت عنها إكس بوكس، والمفروض أنه تختاروا واحد منهم إذا أنتم من محبين الألعاب والأسماء اللي تنزل على نفس الإكس بوكس، وهذا أمر أساسي خلوه في بالكم قبل ما تختاروا الجهاز مهما كان نوعه. إذا في أسماء ألعاب مناسبة لكم، إن يمكن هذا الجهاز هو الأفضل لكم. ما عليكم من اختيارات الناس كلها، عليكم